وينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. So I put some writing, extra writing in Arabic. Now, باب التوكل. Put your trust in Allah Azza wa Jal and rely on Allah Azza wa Jal. And the tawakkul is one of the most, there's a lot of things misunderstood by Muslims. One of them is tawakkul, that I'm relying on Allah Azza wa Jal. And if you check whether he's relying on Allah Azza wa Jal, or whether it's just a word he said, because if you're relying on Allah Azza wa Jal, are you expected to put all what's needed to get the job done? Yes. Are you relying on your effort? Yes. So you're not relying on Allah. If you're relying on Allah Azza wa Jal, you have to take measures. You have to apply everything possible. So he's sick. You need to go, find out, see a doctor, see a specialist, take the drug, have the operation, rely on everything possible to get yourself better within your means. What they called shart mubah mutah. So Yusri Jabbar is one of the scholars in Al-Azhar, and he's a surgeon as well. He's a doctor. He's been a doctor for 45 years. And he said that, the patient come to him and he wants the best drug to get better. And he said, I look into, is it allowable? Yes, to get a treatment to get better. Yes, mutah is halal. But is it mubah? Yes. Is it mutah? Are you able to buy the drug? If yes, yeah, I'll write you the expensive drug. This is more effective than this drug. But he said he wants to be better. It's halal to get treated, but he wants the best drug. But it's very expensive. Okay, I'll go and borrow money. So he said he comes with the illness alone. He goes out with the illness and the burden of debt, and you need to pay back the loans and things, and become like, more complicated case than before he received the treatment from the doctor. So he comes, if he's rich and he can't buy the expensive drug, he said, yeah, I'll write the expensive drug to him. So it has to be, you're doing what's needed to be done, you're studying, you're searching the market, you're doing your training, you're doing your all the means to get to your goal to succeed. But it has to be first halal, and second, it has to be within your reach. There's no point to go, like many people, with respect to all of them, they go and stretch themselves too much to send their children to another country to study medicine, or to study dentistry, or to study. If you have the means, fine. But if you go and borrow money because you want to make sure that you put all what you can to get your children successful, that's not mutah. You're not actually relying on Allah. You're trying to stretch beyond your means, claiming you are putting the effort to get to your goal, and you are relying on Allah. Not accepted. So relying on Allah has to be, you're doing your best, and you're doing the halal things, and you're doing the possible things, and in a way of worshipping Allah, not relying on the means you're putting. So you want to come here, you came by your car, you made sure the car is safe, and there's enough petrol, and the headlight working, and this and that, and you're doing it because you have to do it as Allah expects you to do. That becomes worship. But to rely on what you have done, you're not relying on Allah Azza wa Jal. So he said, لَخْذْ بِالْأَسْبَابِ تَعَبُّدًا. You do what's needed to be done, worshipping Allah. I'm doing what you expect me to do, not because I think this will treat me. And many doctors report the same. We treat 10 patients, the same drugs, 6, 7 of them get better, 3 will not. Why? Because Allah didn't want them to get better. There's something in the process Allah doesn't allow it to happen. And people get muddled. We rely as doctors on treating 10 patients and 8 got better, so the drug is okay. But we don't know whether the drug is actually itself worked or whether Allah made them better. So tawakkul, rely on Allah, is like to make use of all the means in a way of worshipping Allah. You're doing it because Allah expects you to do all the means. Like Marwan Yom today, he mentioned in the khutbah, when Jibreel came with Prophet Muhammad on the buraq, he tied the buraq. And Jibreel alayhi salam and Prophet Muhammad and 120,000 Prophet there, he was going to steal the buraq, but he tied it. Subhanallah, why he mentioned tiding the buraq? He kept the means. Prophet Muhammad when he went from Mecca to Medina, immigrated, he made all the means. He used everything possible to divert the attention of the kafirin. So he left his Ali in his bed and to give all the dibbas and things to people, and he walked south instead of north. He hid in the cave for 3 days. There were people demolishing the footprint, and Asma bint Abi Bakr bringing the food and the news to him. And then he went west, and then he went north, and not the usual routes. He took other routes which people don't use, and made all the effort. When you get stuck, you move from tawakkul to tafweed. Ufawwid amri ila Allah. We studied here the surah when Musa talking to Pharaoh, and a believer in hiding from the palace, he started talking, supporting Musa, and then he crossed the red line. When he crossed the red line, now he is so vulnerable. Pharaoh there and the army and everything, he could get killed quite easily. He said, وَأُفَوِّضُ أَمْرِي إِلَى اللَّهِ. I ran out of means and methods and ability. Now I'm stuck. I leave it to Allah. That you have tawakkul ala Allah until you used all the means. Then you go to tafweed. You are related to Allah. You leave it to Allah Azza wa Jal. So the Prophet ﷺ, when they surrounded the house, he left it to Allah. So when he walked outside, it's the miracle from Allah. Allah intervened, and he put earth on top of each one of them standing. He read Surah Yasin and escaped unharmed. Again, when they in the cave and they reached the cave, again tafweed. So he left it to Allah Azza wa Jal, went to sleep. Like if you are in a jungle and you're running away from a lion or a couple of tigers, and you found a cave, you went inside the cave. There's 2 tigers inside the cave and 3 outside. What do? You're not in tawakkul now. The beginning you were in tawakkul, relying on your means and ability, relying on Allah to save you. But then you reach the stage, there's no save. Either you'll be eaten by the lions inside or lion outside. So you leave it to Allah. Tafweed. So that's the other higher positions in tawakkul. So you rely on Allah Azza wa Jal, and then you reach the stage when you run out of means, I leave it to Allah. But when you use the means, you must do it as worshipping Allah Azza wa Jal. Doing it because Allah expects you to do it. Like Allah Azza wa Jal said about Dhul Qarnayn, وَآتَيْنَاهُ مِنْ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ سَبَبًا فَأَتْبَعَ سَبَبًا. So we gave him the means, what to do, how to do this, and Dhul Qarnayn followed the means, followed the expectation. That you do it like according to textbook. Then when you come, I've done it according to textbooks. Things are not going to happen this way. I'll leave it to Allah Azza wa Jal, tafweed. That it works in everything, whether it's your house or whatever. So Allah Azza wa Jal said in the Quran, وَمَنْ يَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ. If you rely on Allah Azza wa Jal, He will be enough for you, sufficient for you. You don't need to rely on anything else. And وَعَلَى اللَّهِ فَلْيَتَوَكَّلِ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. On Allah Azza wa Jal, all the believers should put their trust in. Like we went to an auction, and they wrote, "In God we trust, everybody pays cash." Yeah, they trust Allah Azza wa Jal, but everybody pays cash. Yeah. We trust Allah only, but you, there's no way. You pay cash. وَعَلَى اللَّهِ فَتَوَكَّلُوا إِن كُنْتُم مُؤْمِنِينَ. On Allah Azza wa Jal, you should put your trust and rely on. If you are believers, so believers are expected to rely on Allah Azza wa Jal. And the hadith of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud that the Prophet ﷺ said, I was shown the nations and during the Hajj, And I saw my ummah, my nation, they filled the land, the valleys and the mountains, and I was surprised and amazed, and I liked the, plenty of them and how they looked. And I was asked, are you happy with that? He said yes. And he was told that with these people, they will get 70,000 who will enter Jannah without any judgment or any question. There's another hadith with each one of these will have 1,000 as well. And there's multiple narration to that. And when I calculated, it was like 9 millions, or it could be 90 millions or 900, we don't know. But their criteria that are not using like tawun, treating with hot plates, is one of the methods. And the Prophet ﷺ never had any he never treated himself with any hot metal and things. And when one of the Sahaba used to do that, the angels used to come and shake hands with him. You haven't seen a girl before? So she's beautiful. She's very fun to have. And they don't treat with the heat, and they do not. They are not pessimistic, and they don't use the ruqya, which is not halal. If you read the Quran, or if you say some of the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ told us to say for the sick people, yes, but you're not allowed to do the tama'im used to do, the time of ignorance, and they rely on their Lord. And Ukasha said to Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, ask Allah Azza wa Jal to make me one of them. And the Prophet ﷺ said, you are one of them. He said, Allahumma, oh Allah, make him one of them. So another guy stood up and said, ask Allah Azza wa Jal to make me one of them. And here a scholar said, really the answer of the Prophet was very, very wise. He didn't say, no, it's too late, whatever. He said, sabaqaka Ukasha. Ukasha beating you for it. So another talk about relying on Allah Azza wa Jal. The sign of the one who relies on Allah Azza wa Jal is 3. He doesn't ask people, please help me, go from A to B to C to D. I mean, we have people like this, if they have problem. I have a couple of friends like this. They're on the phone. What can hold on. Have you done this and this and this? Leave it to Allah Azza wa Jal. What if? They become so, tied up. So, لا يسأل ولا يرد ولا يحبس. And you don't reject the qadar of Allah Azza wa Jal, decision of Allah Azza wa Jal, and you not stop things with you. Like you get money, it stays in your house. No, it should pass. It goes, you spend on people. I mean, one of the things which revive the economy, they call it the velocity of the money. The higher the velocity, the more richer the country will be. Because the money will be, you take it, it doesn't stay with you. You go and spend it, and the other guy go and spend it, and the other guy go and spend it, or give it. So the more velocity, usually the pound used 7 times a year. But if it's used 20 times a year, it will be more economy, because many people going out and having meals or buying things or going on trip or spending. So that's so he's saying here, wala yahbus. But one of the things kills the economy when the money stay with you, never been invested. The Prophet ﷺ said, invest the money of the orphan, don't let zakah eat it, because next year the 100 ounce will become 97.5, and then will be 95, will be 92.5, and be eaten by zakah. And Abu Musa al-Dabili said, Abu Yazid al-Bustami, he was asked, what is tawakkul? And he said, what do you think? And the guy who was asking him, he said that if all the wild, the big cats, the lions and tigers, sibah, and the snakes were on your right and your left, that doesn't stop you relying on Allah. That's Allah able to save me. I will be okay, escape out of that. And Abu Yazid said, yeah, you're getting closer to the meaning. But then he said, but if all the people of Jannah in the Jannah enjoying it, and all the people of hellfire, they are punished in it, and if you وقع لك تمييز عليهما خرجت من جملة التوكل. If you say to yourself that I've done enough, I will be with the Jannah people, you're not relying on Allah. So this is why the Prophet ﷺ, he said, لن يدخل أحدكم عمله الجنة. None of you will be entered Jannah with his deeds. They said, even you, Ya Rasulullah? He said, even me, unless Allah include me in his mercy. What that means and related, how it's related to tawakkul. The hadith. لن يدخل أحدكم عمله الجنة. Your amal will not enter you Jannah. Yeah?
So, if that you do your best, but you don't rely on your actions, you rely on Allah.
You rely on Allah Azza wa Jal. You do all what you can. And who has done more than Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? In his 63 years in life, 23 years as a prophet, he's done so much. I mean, the hadith enough, more than 1 million hadiths and so many different narrations. He said it in this setting, that setting, that setting. So it is not I mean, like 4 or 5 wars a year. He's attacking them, he's attacking them, he's attacking. A lot of illness. He used to have more illnesses than any of the Sahaba, and he used to ache twice as much. And as we said earlier, he buried all his children but one. He lost his uncles were against him, and he's kicked out of his town, whatever. In spite of all this, and he was praying at night till the gravity make his legs swollen, because he's standing for 6 hours, 5 hours. So in spite of that, he relies on Allah. You do all what you do, but you must rely on Allah. And I usually say to my students that if you do deeds 200 years or 2,000 years, but your life in paradise is infinite, your deeds is 0. Anything you divide by infinite is 0. So whatever you did, what you are going to get is no comparison to what you done. But entering Jannah must be that you truly rely on Allah Azza wa Jal to enter Jannah. Tawakkul on Allah Azza wa Jal. And وقال سهل بن عبد الله أول مقام في التوكل أن يكون العبد بين يدي الله عز وجل كالميت. You are with Allah Azza wa Jal like the dead person. They wash, they clean, they turn. You leave it totally to the undertaker. He's dead, but you leave it to Allah Azza wa Jal. You're relying on him, whatever he does. But as we said from the beginning, you must take all the means. But in a worship, I'm doing it to please Allah Azza wa Jal. I've done all my best, but I leave it to Allah Azza wa Jal to make it success or failure. Failure with my best interest as well. And he has no interference what the undertaker does. So you don't interfere with the decision of Allah Azza wa Jal is going to be. And at-tawakkul, Ibn Hamdun said that Tisam Billah. You get hold robe of Allah Azza wa Jal and leave it to him. And Ahmad Khudraway said, قال رجل لحاتم الأصم من أين تأكل? Somebody asked Hatim al-Asam, where did you find your food? How did you get your food? Where did you get it from? And he narrated the ayah, وَلِلَّهِ خَزَائِنُ السَّمَوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. Lillah Azza wa Jal, to Allah Azza wa Jal belong all the treasures, all the stores of heavens and earth. But the hypocrite don't understand. So you should know. You shouldn't ask me this. Allah Azza wa Jal is the provider. And they're saying tawakkul is, the place of tawakkul is in the heart. And الحركة بالظاهر لا تنافي التوكل بالقلب, that you're doing your best but you're continuously relying on Allah Azza wa Jal in your heart. I'm doing it, but I'm sure Allah Azza wa Jal, if it's good for me, will make it happen. If it's not, He won't. فإن تعسر شيء فتقديره انتفق فبتيسيره. So if you succeed, it's the decision of Allah Azza wa Jal. If you fail, Allah Azza wa Jal didn't want you to happen to get that. And the more you are into how Allah Azza wa Jal run His universe, the more you see that it's actually, if you are good, it's going to be for your best interest. Even if you fail. Like we told you the story some time back about the guy who had a very expensive horse. You know this Shaga who got lost, you know, the Irish, 9 million was it, or 7 million, something very expensive. Hmm? Shaga, yeah. And lost and couldn't find it. So it could be millions. So he lost the horse. And people said, oh, sorry, you know, we heard that you lost your horse. And he said, why you're sorry? It could be good. Why you think it's bad? Then 3 weeks later, the horse came with it, 20 horse. She brought 20 horse with it. So they go, oh, congratulations, you know, you've got your horse back and 20 more. So why you think it's good? 20 horse with your horse, and you got your horse back as well. Who knows? And then his son trying the horse. It was a nice horse, and his son tried the horse, and the horse jumped, and he fell and broke his leg. So I came, oh, sorry to hear your son broke his leg, and his leg. How do you know it's bad? How do you know? And then a couple of weeks, the son in Blaster, the Sultan, he sent the army to collect all the young people to go to war. And they left his son because he had broken leg. Oh, congratulations, your son didn't go to war, you saved his life. So how do you know it's good? So you don't know what's good or what's bad, where the good come from, where the bad come from. So this is tawakkul. Yes, you're doing your best, you're relying on Allah with acceptance to whatever the result is. Now,
I was going to say, and I might be wrong, this is very misunderstood, what they call statement. It causes a lot of moral hazard in poor Muslim countries because they won't do their best. But
no, they're not doing their best.
That's right. So
they think they're doing their best.
That's right. And they are. So Turkey, for example, a lot of the building weren't built properly to withstand the earthquake.
Building buildings to stand earthquake. It's not new in the world. Because Los Angeles used to have a lot of earthquakes, and they built their buildings to stand the earthquake. And that's 50 years ago. It's not like, you know, last year or year before. Most of the new buildings in Arab worlds and many Muslim worlds, new as well. I mean, I grew, when I was born, Damascus was only one flat, no multi-stories. My family is, you can't hear us there. But they started building multi-stories building from the 60s onward in Syria. Even I, you know, witnessed that they could have copied. But obviously going to be more expensive. There's a lot of cheat in the building. There's a lot of, and they don't come and inspect. I was in charge of building my family's home. So I made all the bases as the engineer told us and things, but nobody came from the council to check from beginning to end what should be. I mean, in this country, they stop. Sometimes they stop 2 months because they didn't have time. They are in the queue. They're coming to investigate. So when it falls, unfortunately, 46,000 died. SubhanAllah. I mean, when they have problems in acquiring knowledge. I'll tell you an example. When I was in secondary school, they asked us every student should present a project, make electrical or biology or chemistry, whatever. And I know all the class, only me and another guy, did all the things for all the children for money. They didn't do. So I did 6 or 7 apparatus, and took a bird and stripped the bird from all the muscles and left only the skeleton. I put it in carbon hydroxide to make it white and dry, and put it in a glass box, and a bird spreading his wing and things. I did this Morse, you press for the signal and goes there, and I made another one which is the light I used to do in the cinemas. You put the coal and you touch them, they produce a light that alienate the oxygen, transmit electricity. It's 2,000 watts. They used to burn cinemas because it's too hot. And so I made quite a few of them, but the rest are lazy. They don't want to do anything. 2 out of 40. So that tells you. So And Anas ibn Malik said, a man came with a camel, and he said, Ya Rasulullah, shall I leave it and go and pray? And the Prophet ﷺ said, Aqilha wa tawakkal, tie her and then go and pray. He could have said, yes, rely on Allah. So no, it's a rule to rely on Allah. You have to use all the means and rely on Allah at the same time. وقال الخواص من صح توكله في نفسه صح توكله في غيره. If you really rely on Allah Azza wa Jal, you could be trusted to help others as well. And Bishr al-Hafi, he said, توكلت على الله ويكذب يقول أحدهم توكلت على الله ويكذب على الله لو توكل على الله رضي بما يفعله الله به. If he says توكلت على الله, why is that? Need electricity. Right, okay, we're just linking to where is it now? Yeah, so is this working? Yes. So he's saying that your Lord is the Lord of hearts, not the verbal claims. You have really in your heart trust Allah Azza wa Jal, not say it by yourself. Tawakkaltu ala Allah while you are not really, the heart is not relying on Allah Azza wa Jal. And Sayyidina Yahya ibn Mu'adh was asked, متى يكون الرجل, when a person could be truly relying on Allah Azza wa Jal? He said, إذا رضي بالله تعالى وكيلا. You accepted Allah as your representative. You appointed him. Like you appoint a clever solicitor, a clever accountant. You appoint a clever teacher to teach your children. You put your trust in the person. You made your best to choose the right one, and then you leave it to him. If you come and interfere, oh, you're not teaching my son the right way, just go. He will let you, okay, take your case to another solicitor, go to another accountant. And Ibrahim al-Khawas, he saw an Arabi, a Bedouin walking, and he said, Ya Ibrahim, at-tawakkul indana. This Bedouin said to Ibrahim al-Khawas, come and live in the desert, you will rely on Allah. Because when you go to town, you rely on that guy has fried chicken, that guy has KFC, and that guy has Bakura, and come buy from that. While we are in the desert, we have to rely on Allah to find the water, to find the grass, to find the food. So if you really want to rely on Allah correctly, come and live in the desert, in no man's land. You will find yourself every day. Like when people get sick, they remember Allah. Or they are stuck in the car in the middle of nowhere, they remember Allah. Or in the plane when there is a lot of turbulence in the sky. And I can't see that clock now. Oh, we passed the time.
Some profession, they rely on tawakkul, like in respect to fishermen.
Yeah.
Yeah, they say that we throw the net and we rely to Allah.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to do the mean. You throw the net and you rely on Allah as well.
How much fish
to catch? Yeah, yeah. The subject actually, Dr. Jubri, Yusri Jabr took him 3 hours, so I'm going to stop here, inshallah. We'll have to come back to it because it's quite a long subject.
I was going to say, if you go back to the title, right to the top, and if you change it around slightly, and if you change that to in God we trust, that would be the same as the US dollar bill motto.
Yeah, in God we trust. Yeah, this auction place, in God we trust. Everybody pay cash. They don't trust anybody else. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي